are now listening to United 96 Podcast on the RFK Refugees Podcast Network. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is United 96 Podcast with your hosts, John Hoffman and Brian Kane. Hi, Brian.
Hey, John.
This is a different configuration than you're used to. We had quite a few Brian Ted shows while I was either playing softball or recovering from various ailments. This is the first time that Ted is on the injured reserve, and I'm here, and Brian is my co-pilot.
Yes. I don't know what the I'm the injury sub at a last minute injury sub for a like a calf strain and warm up. So here I am.
So I'm still, if you're, no one's here watching at the moment, but if you were, it's blurry. I'm still popping positive COVID tests a week on. I'm told though I'm no longer contagious based on science and whatnot, but work does not go on science. Work wants a negative test. So anyway, enough COVID talk. Let's talk about let's do the thing we normally do. Okay. Brian, how was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty good. Fantastic weather for middle of June. I assume the same for you.
Yes.
I got to spend some time with family. I spent 3 hours out on my back deck watching Formula One. It was a good time. So, you and I and Ted have talked off stream. If this team doesn't turn it around, we can turn into a Formula One podcast real quick.
I think we'll get better listenership if we do, to be honest with you. I don't think we'll lose anything in the changeover. Yeah, how was my weekend? I, have COVID, so that's a strike, and my wife has COVID, and my child has COVID. So Father's Day was chill. Was a very mum affair this weekend. I think the highlight probably was eating pizza outside and napping. So I napped for 3 hours on Sunday in the middle of the afternoon. I think it is
optimal.
That's going to be hard to beat, I think, overall. And for those of you who have joined late, we don't know if Ted has COVID. Ted is coughing. We'll see. I don't know. I don't think I can transmit it via Google Hangout or Zoom. But if so, that might be the first. That might be the first one yet. The first one. We're getting Arsenal slander in the chat, by the way, from first-time viewers.
No. I saw that.
Just making sure you saw it. All right, let's get into the that soccer thing. So okay. DC United. Yeah, but first, before we do that, I want to take this opportunity for those of you who are watching live and those of you who are listening later to plug again. I'm wearing the merch. I am the guy wearing the band T-shirt at the show he's at. But if I don't sell me, who will sell me? I think that's maybe the phrase goes. But if you want to get some podcast swag, be it coffee mugs, T-shirts, hats, sweatshirts like I'm wearing. Probably don't need a sweatshirt for June. But if you wanted it like I am right now, you can go to rfkrefugees.com/merch and check it out. There's also Washington Spirit swag from our Washington Spirit podcast. We always encourage that. We encourage supporting the show in any channel, any way you want to do it. We have a Patreon, which gets you the full show unedited the night it's done, so you get a head start on everybody else. And we also offer you the ability to subscribe to this Twitch stream if you're a person that does that. So that is something you can use your Amazon Prime Twitch subscription. You get one free per month if you want to use it. If you want me to tell you how to do it offline, I will do it. I won't get on it on the show. It's kind of stupid and convoluted. But we just would love the support. This is I don't want to say this is a labor of love. It is, very clearly. We all have extremely full-time jobs and lives and wives and children and whatnot and dogs in some cases. And it's even harder when the teams that we are covering are very bad. So this season's real rough. That's all I'm saying. And everyone's got COVID. So if you have it in your mind to want to support the show, this is a great opportunity to do so. That's that. And then last but not least, we have a free ticket for this Saturday against Nashville, 5 p.m. kickoff. To get the ticket, all you have to do is message the show and say, hi, I would like the one free ticket, please. I love your show. And then you win it. So that's a call out to do that. The end.
Speaking of tickets, John, I think we're hoping that in the coming weeks, starting 2 weeks from now, that a few players will be punching a ticket to Dulles or whatever DC area airport. Let's talk about some of the transfer rumors before we get into any gameplay. Looking at DC, last week you and Ted talked a little bit, mostly about Sonny Kittle and his potential arrival, but there have been some additional rumors coming out this week. Talk a little bit about what's been going around on the Twitterverse related to DC.
Yeah, even worse, the Sonny Kittle move may not be on now. There was reports out of Germany today basically saying, boy, it's very complicated to get a move to MLS. There are 9 million different mechanisms that you have to satisfy, and you have to know the secret password and know the ingredients to the cookie recipe. And so that might not happen. That is now 50-50. So keep that in mind. So we sort of acted as though that were done. And even in the show notes, I said, reports are that the agreement is done and will be finalized this week. But I wrote that this morning. So things have changed even since. But there are additional players. The most recent one is Fabio Gomez, Athletic Mineiro, a club that is familiar to you if you are... And that's not even true. I thought I knew a player that came from there that played for DC United. That's not true. Maybe you just follow the Brazilian league. Maybe you're just one of those guys, and you have a Fanatis connection like I do, where you can watch every league ever. But he also played for the Red Bulls in the past. Scored 7 goals in 30. This year has scored 2 goals in 9 for Mineiro. But apparently, DC United and Cruz Azul are both looking at him as a loan deal for this year. To me, that says Nigel Robertha really is not it, and we need additional striking help. Or it means that the previous striker from Vicenza is not coming, and they're moving down the list to Plan C and D and E. So who knows? That one's very new. That's a this morning.
Okay,
rumor.
Yeah, I was about to say because the Henri from Venezia haven't seen anything in at least a week on that, so that's usually not a good sign.
No, and we got teams like the Columbus Crew paying $12 million for Watford strikers, and here we are. But, as we've said on this show 100 times, sometimes you're shopping at Balenciaga and sometimes you're shopping at Burlington Coat Factory. And you got to know who you are and know what you're looking at. So, Sonny Kittle, TBD on that one. Martin Rodriguez from a second division Turkish club. Again, a league that everyone here watches, just like 2 Bundesliga. So you're all going to have entirely informed opinions about this player, but with Alte SK, a left winger, rumored to potentially maybe fit as a left back, considering we have no cover there, and Brad Smith had a charitably uneven season this year. Rumors are out of Turkey that we have agreed with his club for a $330,000 release clause, which is right in our budget wheelhouse. His former team wants him back, but he does not appear to want to go. Colo. So there are a bunch of maybes. There are Twitter rumors all over the place. I think a lot of people have said like they would prefer, active Twitter rumors to nothing, to just sort of like surprise if anything does happen. So what do you feel about that? Do you like having DC United's name in and amongst all these players that you don't know, but at least says that they have a realization that this team needs new players now?
I like it a lot better if the headline includes the word like talks underway or has communication with agent, not just sort of a soft linkage. I think there's a lot to be said for the positives and negatives of what you see on Twitter. I'm getting a little Arsenal hate in the chat, but I look there and they just with no communication signed somebody this week. Went from never having heard of somebody to he's on the team. So I think it can go both ways, but I think when you start hearing DC thrown around, and that not just, hey, a player is linked, but DC's reaching out, making contact with the team, an offer has been submitted, a bid has been submitted, those sort of things that you hear a little bit more from other teams. When you start hearing more of that, that's when I start to perk up. Outside of that, it's slim pickings, and I really just want this team to do something, because what we have is not working. Speaking
of that, there was a game that we all had to watch.
Are you sure?
This weekend, I am fairly certain that there was. There were no shots on goal registered, so it's sort of like a tree falling in the forest situation. But I can be assured that I watched 90 minutes of something. DC United visiting Chicago Fire SC, I believe, is their now full formal name.
Okay,
it's very important to get it right. 1-0 loss. Once again, there was I think there. So since somebody had said it, so since DC United decided to prioritize the league over the Red Bulls in the Open Cup, they have 2 points from a possible 12, which is not great. I don't even think that actually counts the Open Cup loss. So that's technically could have been 15 points. Anyway, as I said, no shots on target. It's a challenge to win the game when you don't have any shots on target. Stats are stats and tactics are tactics, but I think that one holds true. It's very challenging. You can, however, get a 0-0 draw with no goals or no shots on target. We've seen that has happened in the past. But just as a overall, we're not going to get too deep in a game in which DC United was unable to get a shot on goal. But my general interpretation of the game was there was no cohesive attack, no ability to do any build-up play, no ability to maintain possession. There was ostensibly more danger in the second half. A grand total of 0.87 XG for DC United. I know a lot of our listeners hate expected goals, but when you don't score and you don't get any shots on goal, there's very other limited metrics to talk about your offensive effectiveness. So we got to do what we got to do. Birnbaum missing a header in the first half is probably pretty big, but that is unfortunately becoming a really common sight. The man has lost his GPS for goal on headers. He used to be pretty good at it. He is no longer good at it. It's just not good anymore. And DC United had a higher XG in the second half, more than Chicago, even with Chicago scoring the goal. But I think that was most likely due to the fact that Fabian Herbers scored a header off of like a Schross, unfortunately. So I think that might be why they got undercounted on the XG. It shouldn't have gone in. It just happened to. Mm-hmm. Were you able to watch the highlights of that game by any chance?
I did catch a little bit of the highlights, but
did you see that goal go in?
Yes.
Did you have any problem with the way Romo defended it?
I maybe it's I don't know. I have so many problems. I'll be honest. I didn't pay too much attention to his defending, but it sounds like maybe you have a position or a thought on how
there was just there were a lot of Twitter conversations about the goalkeeping situation becoming even more and more dire now. I didn't see it as he's made worse mistakes,
yes,
which we've all seen. So there's that. Like it's not quite as nailed on. But I think that if people were looking to him as a Bill Hamid successor, and I said from the start, like this man was a sometime starter in a third tier European league, mm-hmm. probably not going to be wearing a cape and rescuing you. Otherwise we would not have got him the way we did. But that did not stop people's optimism from thinking he was going to, because he played in Belgium, he was going to come right in and save the day. Mm-hmm. And maybe he still will, but he isn't yet.
I think he's a better Band-Aid than Kempin.
I think that's true. Yeah,
and he brings a couple things differently. He's had his fair share of mistakes, but when he's not making mistakes, I think he is maybe better at Bill in playing out from the back, which I think with our sort of 5 across the back setup might be a little bit more advantageous to us. At least in the couple games that I remember seeing him just maybe connecting a little bit in that way, a little bit better with the ball at his feet. But I've also seen him make a number of mistakes from that place, from that position as well.
It's so challenging to focus on that attribute in the broader context of what appears to be DC United's entire lack of a game plan in these games that have been occurring. Like it's in a team that has a set identity and a team that has ideas going forward and really good chances that are made not just from blind crosses, but from movement off the ball and 1-2 passing. Then I think you're like, all right, well, there's that's something you want to have. DC United is just so devoid of that right now. Nahar coming back helps. They were kicking him around. They were kicking Taxi around. Hamid continuing to be out with illness, I think, is more of a mixed bag than it would have been in the past. In the past, that would have been DC United is getting no points with Bill out, but Bill has not been himself quite clearly. So that's not really the problem. Taxi played a full 90 for, I think, maybe the first or second time since he's been here. He had back spasms, which people have speculated was just him not wanting to travel for a Greek national team game, which would be wild. But yeah, I'm just very concerned right now what this team is planning to do. Like if I'm watching that game again, I'm not going to. The once was plenty, but I just couldn't see what they were trying to do necessarily. Like it seemed excessively conservative for a team that they were playing, a team that hadn't won in 10 games with the Fire. So this is a wooden spoon competition, and you're setting up with a midfield of Jafal, Durkin, and Skundrich behind 2 attackers. It's just it boggles the mind, really. They didn't have Flores available. Not necessarily that Flores is a benefit over any of these players, but Flores was not available. Still rumored to be finalizing a transfer. Griffin Yao not available. Again, Westerlo is the team that is apparently looking at him. So there weren't a lot of options from the bench, but that midfield, I'm not as big of a Jafal supporter as Ted is, or a lot of people on Reddit are, and that's fine. I think that's, I'm tending to be more of a skeptic with rookie players than a lot of people. I think a lot of people want to be very optimistic about rookies, whereas I will do the exact opposite. Sorry, COVID's still here. I will assume they're going to disappoint me until they prove otherwise. But this was the bench for the Chicago game: Alfaro, Canales, Roberta, Estrada, Smith, Kempin, Hope Gund, and Hopkins. Hopkins did not appear. He was the only attacker that did not get in the game. Kamari Smith, once again, just getting way more appearances in MLS in 2022 than I ever thought was possible. But, Michael Estrada plays 6 minutes in a game where you're chasing a goal. Like, obviously, we're right. You and I are right about this player. He ain't it. Like, clearly, if this is a prime opportunity, if you're only attacking player on the bench and he gets 6 minutes, not great. Roberta gets 20 minutes, does nothing. So there were no game changers necessarily on the bench. So I guess I can give Chad a little bit of a benefit of the doubt there. But I would maybe say Jackson Hopkins in lieu of Drew Skundrich, just to have at least one more player that's got some ideas out there. It's just a struggle to watch right now, and wonder what this team is planning to do.
Yeah, for all of the things that have come out with Hernan, post the team letting him go, I think what's become really evident was Hernan was capable at times of getting more from this team than the sum of their parts. And, I think you look back at the first couple of games of the season and we didn't perform well. Performance has not improved since then. No. You brought up Jafal. I look at central midfield. So I'm going to transition to a little bit of a personnel discussion. Jafal is not someone that you bring in because you want them starting every game.
No,
That's a
not
player,
a second round draft pick. No.
Right. That is someone that you bring in, that you see promise in, that you bring in the 60th minute when you're up 2-0 to get some game time experience, or you bring in the 70th minute when you're down 2-1 and you need some creativity in your midfield. Not somebody who starts and plays 90 minutes and is meant to carry the team. And I think that transfers in different skill sets to Durkin and Skundrich as well. I think Durkin would be a good starter along somebody really strong. And I love Russ, but I don't think we're seeing the best from him this year. Nope. That midfield core is weak, and what that has done, especially with Nahar being out, has made us very one-dimensional. We create chances through Gressel down the right. That is how we create chances. And if that isn't ticking, and I think Gressel does his best work when him and Taxi can play off each other through the middle, when Taxi is able to play a little bit deeper and not relied upon to try and be up front scoring goals, to be a little bit reserved and creating chances. That is when we've been our most effective this year. And if that doesn't click, nothing clicks, and we're just really not doing much. And I think that's been evident is, we're not getting we're not getting more than the sum of our parts, and we're barely getting the parts that we do have to work in the way that they should.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's not a matter of. I think it's a couple things. You mentioned Hernan and sort of getting to be able to extract a little bit more than what you thought you'd get, and that was usually through fitness. That was at least that's been his narrative before, during, and after being with DC United. It was like, I have the players I have. The only way we're going to compete is by being able to be outfitting them. We're not doing that now. We're not running anyone down anywhere at the moment. The press is non-existent. And the midfield is weak from a roster construction perspective. It's weak from a tactical perspective. Taxi is being relied on, as you say, to do more than maybe he should be doing on a good team. It's just really tough right now. You keep coming back to the quote, and we're going to get to her in a second, that Lucy Rushton gave during the dismissal about that this is a playoff caliber team and we expect to make the playoffs. And then we get linked to like 7 players in the July window, which would be more. If half of these come through, it will be the most active window since a year before RFK was ending. And that was a while ago now at this point. So which is it, right? Ted and I were talking. I don't know what we were talking, but basically, and we'll get to this now. So Lucy Rushton had an interview on Pitch Pass with Roach, a woman we've tried to talk to on this show for years and have now just given up. So we're just gonna talk to her via podcasts other people are doing. But 2 really big things that came out. Taxi was already being pursued prior to her arrival, which goes very counter to the narrative that is both, I would not say being encouraged by DC United, but certainly not being dissuaded that like Lucy Rushton is like the new player finder of DC United, and anything good that's going to come is going to be through her analysis. And it's not Dave Casper, it's her. So that in that case, that's not going on. And then Roach asked the question, sort of like, and I think a good one, and one I have all the time, about, okay, we're a last place team. We now at least have a training center, not practicing at RFK. It may not be the best in the world, but it exists, so that's an improvement. We fired a coach. We're in an interim situation. Like, how do we attract players? Like, what are we doing to attract players? And she said, our weight room is really good. It's world-class weight room, and the facilities are good. And players are intrigued at being a part of a rebuild, which my antenna went up on my head when she said that. And I was like, no, they don't. Not good players. Maybe if you're 34 or 35, maybe if you're Wayne, no, not even Wayne Rooney. Like, the things that make players excited are money and opportunity, or maybe using this as a platform to go make more money and have more opportunities. Certainly not saying, hey, yeah, we might be on our third coach in 12 months at the end of this year, and yeah, we're in last place, and yeah, we're looking to change out about 5 of 11 starting lineup positions here in this window. But yeah, no, you should. Everything's very stable. Everything's very good. Promises I make today, you can hold me to, because clearly we're on a very even keel right now. Yeah, I just walked away from that interview just feeling like I'm not super confident about the narrative that we've been fed here as a fan base. Like, yeah, we may have lost our non, but the plan is in place, man. It's baked in. The analysis, the players that are going to come are going to fit right in, and we've done our due diligence, et cetera, et cetera. You haven't had a chance to listen to that, so all of that is from me right now. But what's your sort of takeaway from at least the taxi thing? What's your thought there as I'm telling you that was not a Lucy find?
I think maybe surprised, maybe just because we've had so many Casper call-ups that haven't hit. But the rebuild thing actually hits me a little bit harder because I feel like maybe that's an easier thing to get behind when you have a new, young, exciting coach. I don't think you can talk about rebuilding until you've got that new figure. There's not a player, there's not a DP that's coming to DC United to follow Chad Ashton to start him, right?
Yep.
And
she brought that up too. She called him like she didn't say world-class coach, but she had very high things to say about Chad as being like, yeah, who wouldn't want to come play for this club? And I know she's selling, like she's got a job, right? Yeah. But anyway, continue.
Chad's the guy you bring in when your coach got hired away because he did such a good job with your team that another bigger team wanted him. He's not the ideal person that you want to say, hey, we're underperforming. We've completely changed the look of our team. We have no structure. Come in here and get us to the playoffs. Yeah. And he's certainly not going to draw players here. I think, I don't know, as you or Ted tweeted earlier in the week, if Columbus can pull in somebody from EPL, what can we do? We're the largest Premier League market in the country, but we can't get anybody to come to DC. And I think the team has to address that in a certain way, that there's an image issue or there's a visibility issue. It doesn't seem like this is a place where players are clamoring to get to. And in a landscape where, unlike Europe, where there's a lot more flexibility on salary and things like that, nobody that's coming here is going to be coming here for a windfall. Nobody is going to be, making bank. You have to have another draw. The draw for the type of player that we're probably looking for is, hey, you're going to come in, you're going to be a figurehead of this team, you're going to be a major component in our success. And I don't think that we've laid out a playbook for them that says we are on a path there. We don't have stable coaching. We are hit or miss on the other players that we're buying.
You have ownership talking about how little money they have and how they're aiming to be middle of the road.
Right.
Like it's not a picture of aspiration that you're selling to these potential players.
Across the board. Frankly, I'm amazed. This isn't in the show notes, but I'm amazed that we're being talked about for the All-Star game. That was a surprise to me.
Yeah, I'm curious. Usually that's as a SOP, right? If it's on a new stadium, there's like the league will do you a solid. They haven't been there since Audi Field opened, so Maybe it was just our turn. Maybe it was already in the cards.
Maybe this is comeuppance for Baltimore, DC, not getting World Cup hosting.
Maybe so. Yeah, I talked about the Crew, and I neglected to mention the ownership of the Crew being the Haslams having a lot of money. That's how you overcome being in Ohio as a destination, right? Like money, that'll do it. DC United has not a lot of money. They have a good location, but they're never going to win heads up against Miami or LA or New York. Just not gonna do it for a player that can go anywhere. They won't choose here.
Yep.
So you have to be a winner. You have to be a winner with like an exciting coach, and you have to be a platform. Blade Swartles here says in the chat that Lucy misconstrued players being excited by the prospect of a rebuild project versus the opportunity being talked about as a central piece. That helped bring a team up from the bottom, which plays into what John was saying about the players using it as a jump-off point to somewhere better. It certainly didn't hurt Lucho for that 3-month period. Yeah, you've got to be a team that's cooking on all cylinders to be that temporary shop window. And right now, it's a hard sell, I think, to any player. Taxi is not using this to come up somewhere else. He's using this as this is his payday. This is his chance to be the guy, and he's enjoying that so far for however long he's here. But it's not to move to Arsenal next. That's not what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. So I think before we go and wrap up previewing the next game coming up, I'm gonna since we can't interview Lucy on the show, I'm gonna reach out and give a piece of advice. You've got a diverse ownership group here. Minority owners. I think there's a press conference coming with Yo Gotti. Yep. There's got to be an up-and-coming soccer star who also imagines themselves as an up-and-coming recording artist. So, throw in a guest spot on a track or something in the deal. You want to talk about getting players in. Let's get creative, because that's what this team needs. They need a creative marketing strategy because they don't have the cash to throw around, and we're not in LA. So
why not? I think you could be Mark Ingram's fullback for one game. It'd be that's another sort of, that's the way we do it, right? They're getting they're buying chunks of this without having to put any equity in. So let's figure out a way to use them as a recruiting tool. I like it. So let's talk about the game. Well, let's talk about it very briefly. Nashville coming to town this weekend again. If we have a free ticket, giving it away, I'll be there in person. Finally, hopefully. I can't imagine why I wouldn't be at this point, but I'll be there. Nashville lost to Sporting KC 2-1 this last coming weekend, but they're sixth in the table, 23 points in the Western Conference. 23 points would, I think, put them maybe second in the Eastern Conference. How bad the Eastern Conference is at the moment, it would put them fifth. So sorry, but they'd be in the playoff picture. No Walker Zimmerman was in that game, I believe. International duty, most likely. Dax McCarty was starting on the bench. Did not appear their starting 11. Mukhtar started and played 90 minutes. He has traditionally given DC United fits, and the times Nashville has played them. DC United is going to have Brendan Hines-Ike back from red card suspension or yellow card accumulation. I think that's the only real addition. There are no, unless Yao is available again. I don't think there's any injuries that were near resolution. I think everyone else is still sort of out for a while. Bill Hamid's still injured from illness. I don't know if he'll be back. I know that Moses Nyman's been out for 7 years with a quad injury. So I don't think I don't think the Cavalry's coming for this weekend. So yeah, do you have any, before we give it to a score prediction, do you have any general thoughts about Nashville?
I no. I have general bad thoughts. Frankly, until this team shows some sense of working together on any level, I'm not sure it matters what team we play against. So
I think that's true. We just lost to Chicago, who had not won a game in 10 games. So that there is some truth to that. So if you're a betting man, I would bet on Nashville this weekend. I'll give you a score prediction here. 2-0 is my prediction for this game. They have not scored more than 3 goals in their last 5 games, where they've won 2, drawn 2, and lost 1. But I also do not see DC United getting on the board based on the lack of cohesiveness and the lack of additional players coming back in. So, yeah, what's your score prediction?
I'm going to go 2-1, and the one's going to come from a penalty. And I only say that because I feel like this time last year, Ola Kamara had scored about 15 penalties.
He's due.
And we're due. So
I like that. I think that's actually if you're betting, that's the play. The lead pipe lock for United 96 this week is Nashville money line parlay with both teams to score. That's the official parlay prediction. I'm gonna bet it when we get done with this. Brian, I thank you for filling in for Ted. Folks, thanks for listening to the show. Folks, thanks who were here for the live show. We appreciate it. Remember, we're on patreon.com/RFK Refugees. You can subscribe to the Twitch stream if you'd like. And we're here normally every Monday at 8:30. This was a weird week. We did not do it last week, but we'll be back next Monday at 8:30 talking DC United. For those of you who are here watching live right now, we're going to take a short break and then come back with Kindred Spirits and talk Washington Spirits, another team from the DC area who is disappointing in a massive way. But at least this time, this is less their fault. So we've got that. So for Brian, I am John, and we will catch you next week. Vamos.
Vamos.